if I think about my work, what happens quite often is that our client would engage a full team of advisors, meaning investment bankers, consultants, lawyers, and everybody, to evaluate a target and get possibly the deal done. And usually there's sort of a set timetable by the sellers as to how much time they allow for due diligence and how much for negotiations and how much for this and that. So I think 1 month duration is a fairly typical one for the client work that we do, and in that time, through multiple work streams, you would evaluate, both the industry, then the company itself, its financials, in detail, then environmental factors and legal risks and tax things and things like that. So I think it's 1 month is a fairly good average as to how much time available you have for the to gain the in-depth understanding of the company, the industry, the valuation, all the risk factors, and so forth.
It's 100 to 200 hours usually, depending on the company. Depending on what happens in the company, at least 4 times a year you have the quarterly reports. And when the company issues a quarterly report, that's like when you need to update your model and research. That's usually 1 full work day that you use.
In 5 minutes, I usually decide on 90% that do I continue or not, and you just have to do that, because otherwise if I would spend even an hour with all of the companies that I see, then I would obviously 1,000 companies, 1,000 hours. That's half of my working time, and I have companies that I already have invested in where I would really like to spend my time in. So the kind of new companies should only take 10% of my time or 20% of my time. So it needs to be super quick.
Hundreds and hundreds. But as such, of course, executing once you have all the assumptions, really executing the actual valuation work, that's only days. Yeah. That's relatively simple and straightforward process.
How many hours? Well, the recent IPO pace has been quite fast, so you don't even when you're asked about the kind of initial valuation range, you don't have that much time, so it can be only a couple of days. But in a kind of in a ideal world, I would do it probably have a couple of days to just find the market and what the drivers are, and then build the model, and so it can take let's say up to 5 days to build it. It depends on the quality and how complex do you want to build the model. Because in many occasions it doesn't need to be a really complex, deep down driver-driven model in order to get a sense where the kind of value on the company might be.
Well, typically we spend quite a lot of time. I mean, it's a business where we consult the kind of shareholder value creation in a way. So that's the angle from where we are coming from, and therefore, of course, there's a lot of weight put in the work we do. I mean, the evaluation forms the basis of the analysis, and therefore quite a lot of time is put into that one. How many working hours that is, it's very difficult to say, but I think in all kind of more important cases, it's the absolute minimum is like 100 working hours or something like that. So it's a lot of work.